Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Melinda Shumway. I serve as Vice Chair of the Historic Districts Commission in Concord and will be acting as chair in the absence of the chair. Welcome to the April 6, 2023 meeting of the Town of Concord Historic Districts Commission. The commission will review one continuance and three new applications. I'm sorry, it's two applications. This evening, we will also conduct additional business at the end of the meeting. We are conducting this meeting online in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comments on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. To do so, please raise your hand in the participant function of the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. Our host will mute microphones of those not speaking, and in order to preserve bandwidth and may need to turn off video with the exception of the commissioners, the host, and the current applicant. I will call on each commissioner for comments on an application and then open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I will ask for a motion from the commission to continue, to approve with conditions, or to reject. A second, and to conduct a roll call vote. Once the commission has acted on an application, the applicant is free to leave the meeting. We will do a roll call of the members of the commission. Kate Chartner.
Here.
Walter Clay.
Here.
Dennis Fiore. You're muted, Dennis. That's okay. Okay, I see your hand. William Hewitt, Bill.
Here.
Catherine Mast. Myself, and that's all. We have a quorum. Voting members, tonight will be the full members present as well, and Catherine Mast is not here, so the chair has suggested that Dennis be a voter and Tim be a voter, and that's 1, 2, 3, and I still need somebody. So Walter, how about you?
Fine by me.
Okay. All right, so let's begin. We have a public hearing on our first is with, this is Margaret Bruton, 286 Lexington Road. Are you here?
Yes.
Would you welcome, and would you like to begin telling us about your project?
Oh, sure. I have my sister-in-law next to me, just in case I flub up here. We were just going to do a small addition and alter a balcony that is rotting. What else?
Just raise the roof on the side of the house to make a closet and a bathroom on the second floor. So add a little square footage to the house.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. And could you walk us through this then?
Yeah, so the first photograph, the photograph of the house, it's this left spot there. It's an existing mud laundry space with a side entry there. The roof is really low on the front and back, so that the second floor, there's a little sort of existing closet that goes from the main house through a low door to get into this little closet space. So if you go to the next image or the plan view, so that's a view of the roof. So then this is so that's just a detail of that. So these are the existing drawings here. So the bottom right-hand side is you're seeing that little mudroom space with the double windows to the side there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bottom left there you can see the back view. There's 2 windows to the backyard. And then on the second floor, there's an existing porch there with a double door with access to the porch. So that's where we have a really bad leak issue. I'll go to the next. So this is what's being proposed for the front. So on the top left image there, we are proposing to make a new dormer and raise the roof there. So it still stands a little bit lower than the main house, and it's still the same plane. We haven't changed the plane of the bottom part, but the top part, we'll be adding a dormer. So we're adding the 2 windows facing the front of the house that would conform to the windows in the front of the house there. The bottom right-hand view is a new side view of that. So we are kicking, you can see the new roof facing the front. It's a new dormer there. And the portion facing the roof facing the back of the house is being lifted. So we can now create a bathroom in there. So we have 3 windows on the second floor into the bathroom. There's a new entry. The entry into the space is actually in the same location as the old door entry. And then there's new windows that are going into the left of that, which we already had double set of windows. So that's not much of a change. We are proposing a little shed roof over the new door entry there. You can see it on the top left drawing. This is a little shed roof just to give some protection to the weather there. And then in the bottom view on the left, so there's 2 things that are being submitted. We're not actively doing it. On the left-hand side, this is for the permit drawing. We are proposing a potential future dormer in the back of the house. That's not what's being submitted during this permit. This is a phase 2. But there's, we wanted to, at this point, at least sort of talk about that, a potential for a second dormer there, just to give some view from that, a second guest bedroom over there. But on the right-hand side, there's a new slider to the master bedroom there. And then these are the new windows that are part of the addition on the right. Yes, those 2 there. So yeah, and no other changes to the house.
Okay, and do you have cut sheets for the windows?
Yeah, so in the application, there are cut sheets. So we have a cut sheet for the window there. So it's an Anderson, wood painted window. It would be painted white to match the outside of the house. And then the inside is a painted, finish. You don't care about the inside. And then the paint color is simply a white to match the existing white of the house. So with no plans to change any paint colors on the outside of the house. We didn't submit for the roof shingle, but the roof shingle as an asphalt roof, we're just gonna match the asphalt roof where they build a new roof.
Okay, and so I guess one of my questions is the windows that you will be replacing. I guess, what windows, how old are the windows that are currently on the house?
The whole house is from the 80s. So there was a remodel and the house was built in the 80s. So they're I don't know if
remodel, I think in the 90s. Maybe.
Yeah. So there's a sort of I don't know what model they are, but we're trying to do as close to them. They're just snap-in grills. They're not true divided windows. So we're proposing an Anderson to be of the similar style.
Okay, so I'm going to call on my fellow commissioners to comment on your plans and ask any questions they might have. Let's start with Kate, please.
Hi, good evening. For starters, could you tell me what's visible from the public way in the rear elevation?
In the rear elevations, or
Yep. So who can see you from behind?
there's a wetland behind them. So
Way back, there is a house through trees if you look hard, but there's not much in the back.
yeah, there's really no visibility. I'm looking up the back now. You can see a light from someone's house, but that's about it. So there's wetlands. So if you look on the site plan, there's we can show you in the site plan.
Let me check one.
But there's no public way behind you.
There's no public way, yeah. It's so the back of this property is wetlands, which abuts to the wetlands behind the people behind. So,
Trying to determine how much is in our purview, frankly.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the house, you can see this driveway and the house is really at the frontmost piece of this parcel.
Mhm.
There's a house, if you're looking at this plan right to the left, which is located closer to Lexington Road. And on the right-hand side, there's a house there, which is also closer to the road. But it's like quite a long, narrow parcel that goes, about half of it is wetlands back.
I'm just trying to get my bearings on this.
sure.
Just with regards to public way. 286 Lexington Road.
I don't know if we can open like a Google map or something that,
That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Or maybe, Haley, can you pull open a Google map for this? Yeah, that's quite a ways back.
yeah, is, we see a lot of birds and animals.
Indeed.
Just no people. Yeah, so you can see how deep the parcel is from there. It's, and then if you follow below, so I can see a light that, so like a little bit left of the cursor there, I can see barely a light from that house there.
You can't see Cambridge Turnpike.
No,
No, not at all.
Coming down Lexington Road from either direction, what can be seen of the rear? I mean, does anyone else share my inquiry about this?
I think your hunch is right. The rear, there's no view from a public way. That's the east and the west sides that would have.
Yeah.
Yeah. The side, absolutely. From driving down the road, you definitely see the entry to the mudroom space. So there's absolute visibility there.
So yeah, that would inform our,
Mhm.
consideration of the shed addition, the second story addition, but I don't know if it puts us at all in, where we need to be for the primary bedroom situation.
So potentially the dormer in the future.
Right. We did a very sort of conforming design with the dormer, very traditional to be, to match other houses in the proximity.
Then let's focus then just on the, Melinda, do you agree on this? That we should, what do you think our parameters are here?
Well, I was going to suggest that we each still weigh in with the other commissioners and then decide whether we want to do a site visit for this or not. Because the side door, that's right, I was asking really about the windows on that side too.
Mhm.
And so but let's continue and see what else everybody has to say. Walter?
I do think I'd like to see what it looks like from Lexington. Perhaps it's an SIGHT visit, not an SITE visit as much as anything. I'm concerned, if I have a concern, that it will be visible from Lexington. The very back, I understand, shouldn't be. That also makes me wonder if this should have a little bit more thought put to what actually needs to be put before the commission.
Dennis?
As in maybe not the entire,
Oh, okay.
maybe not everything that's being presented at this point needs actually to be presented. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. Dennis, you're muted? He's looking for, we can't hear you. We still can't hear him. Why don't we go to Bill? Bill, do you want to comment on this a little?
Sure. My hunch is that the rear is not visible for any public way, so I just focused on the addition. I guess I have
one concern, which is the massing of that addition and the angles of the roof lines seen from the end. I'll leave it to my professionally trained colleagues, but my just impression from other capes that have been added to many times is they find a way to echo the angles of the gables more closely to the existing. I appreciate the desire to get headroom, I assume, for the bathroom in the back.
Absolutely, yeah.
That angle, there's something about the combination of that angle and the horizontal windows that is upsetting to the eye, I think. And similarly from the front elevation, the fact that the second story shares the same plane as the first story on that addition, I think
It's actually set back.
I'm sorry, when you look at it from the front,
Yeah,
on the left-hand side, at least it looked to me like it's in the same plane.
yeah, it's set back. The second floor window is set back from the first floor, so it's more.
No, I understand. I meant the other way. If I'm looking at the front of the house,
I have it, yeah.
the second story on the addition shares
Okay.
the same end plane.
Okay,
And I just think there's a couple examples around Concord. I was looking today of small jogs, if you will, of second stories added to capes that just seem to echo the original in a way that's a little more pleasing. I know it's just also the vertical window versus the 3 horizontal windows, which is also a challenge in a bathroom, but
yeah.
there's something about that
Yeah.
angle and massing that doesn't feel quite right.
Mhm.
Dennis, now that we unmuted you.
Sorry, I was muted. A picture of Putin at CNN and kept popping up on my screen, but I got rid of him. I'm done. I was. I echo what Bill had to say about this. I understand how difficult this is to try to get this addition, but it is awkward the way the angles are on the roof. The 3 little windows are awkward also. It just seems like there must be a better solution to make that blend in with the rest of the building. Now, the house itself has probably 80s proportions. It's not a true colonial. But at the same time, the proposal, I think, needs to be thought through a little more so that it blends in better and feels like it's a part of the house, not a sort of a little appendage that's sticking out off the side.
Catherine's not here. Timothy? Tim?
Yeah, I live very near this house, so I know it very well. And I agree that you cannot see the rear elevation at all. But the end elevations, the east and west elevations are very prominent, especially the one with the addition that everyone's talking about. And I completely share the same concerns that have been spoken about that addition. It's a small addition. I know, again, it's tough to get headroom, but it just needs to be thought about. The roof angles somehow need to work in with what's there. It's a nice, simple, warm house. The front elevation seems fine. It's just that very prominent east elevation just doesn't look right to me. So I completely agree with the other comments. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make open up the meeting for public comments.
Excuse me, Melinda?
Yeah.
One thing, I think Catherine is with us
Oh,
now.
Catherine, I'm sorry. I missed you in the roll
That's
call.
okay.
And
No, I was about
also-
5 minutes late. I had to commute in from Boston, so my apologies.
so did you hear what they were saying there?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
good. So would you please weigh in?
yes, of course. So I had thoroughly studied the drawings earlier, and I would just say I don't have any additional real comments or concerns outside of what's already been voiced by everyone here. But I did, just recalling my review of those drawings, I did also agree with Dennis. I think the 3 smaller windows, there was something about that I did just feel was a little bit not quite in balance. And there's some other elements that I do think could just be reworked to work a little better in terms of the overall aesthetic of that particular side of the house. And I do think it would be helpful to get more understanding of what we're going to see, from those east and west views. And that's really all I had to add.
All right, thank you. And public comments. Do we have any people who want to weigh in on this? Doesn't look like it. Okay. So overall, I'm thinking that maybe it's premature to do a site visit. And it sounds like there is definitely some suggestions that you might take a second look at the roof lines and angles and perhaps come back to us. Sorry about that. And with a potentially slightly different design that might be more aesthetically appealing. And is that something that would work for you guys?
Well, yeah, we could, I mean, I'm
Yes,
speaking for
of
you,
course,
sorry.
of course, yes.
Okay.
So we could look at, maybe taking some roof line in to give it a little bit more. It seems like symmetry is what you're sort of pushing toward, and that elevation with that roof is not as symmetrical. So we could certainly work on something. We're just trying not to touch the footprint to the house, and change it, but we do have a requirement to gather some square footage up there and headroom. So that's the key part.
Okay. So go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I neglected to mention, in case it's helpful, after looking at the drawings, I happened to be on Barrett's Mill Road, and the Barrett's Mill farmhouse, well, it's obviously not Cape Cod, on the end closer to the Lowell Road intersection, has some very interesting additions that were clearly done 6 different times. And somehow the way those angles work and the way the windows work was just looked interesting. Anyway, in case that's helpful.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear, for at least a reference.
Okay, so if it's okay with you, I'm thinking that we should have a motion that for continuance, and that you come back. We meet every, twice a month, or actually first, second, and fourth Thursdays, I believe. So when you're ready, we can take a second, come back to us, and we may or may not require a site visit at that time, but we might. And we typically do them at 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursdays, on the day that we will have the meeting. So if that works for you, then I would like to ask for a motion from the commissioners for continuance for this particular submission.
I move that we continue the application for 286 Lexington Road till our next meeting.
And do I have a second?
Hey,
Tim?
Melinda, may
Yep.
may I make a comment just before we get into that, please?
Yep.
If I may, there was a comment about symmetry, and I don't think that's what the committee wasn't saying anything about symmetry. We were just talking about roof lines and the organization of windows. So it's not as if I just want to be clear that in terms of my comments, and I didn't hear any other comments about symmetry. It's more the composition of that east elevation that needs to be looked at.
Okay.
Not per se symmetry. Thank you.
Okay. And Tim, I'm gonna have Catherine vote, since she's a permanent voting member, and I didn't see her initially, instead of you as my.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. And I need a so now I need a second, but you qualify for the second. And now I'd like to take a vote. Kate?
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Bill? Bill?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you. And I also vote in favor. So thank you very much. And I think you're well on your way to a great design, and hopefully it won't be too difficult to get something that works for everyone. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Our next hearing is with Daryl and Andrew. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong page again. The Concord Free Public Library, where we had probably the shortest site visit we've ever had. As it went so smoothly. And so Kim, are you here to?
I'm here.
Okay, would you like to just tell us a little bit more about how it went today, or Lisa, whoever?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. First of all, Di and Jeff weren't able to be on Zoom tonight, and they asked me to give their apologies, and I think I can handle it. But yeah, it was a short visit. But what we've done is we showed you the plans last time. The granite seat wall stays the same, basically, as what we talked about last time. What we've determined is we will use the stone dust. There it is. We'll use stone dust for the paving on the interior, which is similar to the stone dust we've used in the children's garden on the other side of the library. We feel that it's aesthetically pleasing and is good for drainage. It also lends itself to kind of a more flexibility in usage for the librarians to bring tables out. We'd probably like to see some bistro type tables, such as that are in the very front of the library that were put out during COVID. So yeah, it's a flexibility and simplicity, I guess, is what we're after.
Okay. Actually, it was a very, when I said it was short only because you did such a good job planning it, fencing it off, or rather placing the actual size. It looked
Okay.
smaller to me on paper, I will say. So it was nice to do that. So I'm going to go straight to asking the commissioners if they have any comments. Kate?
Hi there. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
I have no comments or questions. I was out of town and couldn't make the site visit, but have reviewed the designs, and I, agree with what's going on.
Walter?
I was there this morning. It works well for me.
Great. Dennis?
Looks fine to me.
Bill?
Nice work.
Catherine?
I was not at the site visit, but I'm very familiar with, of course, the library and the surrounds, and did study the drawings intimately. And there's a phrase that good design is obvious, but great design is transparent. And I would say, I feel like this is transparent. It just feels like it was all meant to be. So I think the design is excellent.
Thank you.
Great. And Tim?
I was there this morning and I agree with everyone. I think it looks great.
Great. Are there any public comments? All right. Then I would like to call for a motion from one of our commissioners to approve this application. I'm sorry.
I'll move.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Go ahead.
Oh, I have to say the motion. I'm
Yes.
sorry. It's the first time I've moved.
It's my first being chair, so hey.
I move we approve the application.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
I'll
A
second.
second. Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Kate,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Bill,
I,
Catherine,
Aye.
and I too am an aye. Thank you very much for like I said, a really great, short and very sweet
Early visit.
site visit today. And we look forward to seeing that get installed over the spring and summer.
Yes, thank you very much.
And okay, and so let's move on. Good night now.
Good night.
To
Thank
the next one is. Okay, so it's just these two. So other business. Main Street Historic District request to extend.
Sorry, can I jump in? Sorry, this is Andrew Pedder and Daryl Pedder for the.
I'm sorry.
Question from us.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. I'm hopping around from two different agendas. I apologize. Yes, for 252 Main Street we are now only talking about the windows because the Widows Walk needs more time to be looked into. So take it away, Andrew.
Thanks. Yeah, we decided the Widows Walk is taking longer to sort out with different options. So we thought we'd separate that out into a second request. But in terms of the windows, I'll do stopping from a bit of a cold, so apologies for being a bit croaky. But before Lisa gets into some of the details, I thought I'd just give a sort of brief introduction. So as a reminder, we've been in the house for 7 years now. We bought it back in 2016, knowing that we had to do a lot of work to it. We perhaps didn't know how much work, but we went into it with our eyes wide open. And we did 2 years of renovation, and most of that was on the inside, bringing it up to sorting out some really old stuff around wiring and all that kind of business, and sort of renovating the bathrooms and just making it more livable. And also really cleaning up the back and some of the side of the house where, for those who remember, 252 had an apartment on the 3rd floor, which he had this remnants of this external staircase and just a bit of a fire escape. It was all pretty ugly. So part of what we did in that 2-year renovation was to clean up the back, and we ended up in part of that whole process, we ended up replacing about just under half of the windows. Some obviously all visible to the river, some visible to Main Street on the side of the house. But after two years, we took a pause and fast forward to where we are now, where we're looking to harmonize the house. And this is a home at the end of the day. It's not this is not a commercial building. This is a home. So we have half of our house that looks very different to the other half in relation to the windows. And we do want our house to look the same, not just from respecting the historical standpoint, but also from an energy efficiency standpoint. The old windows we have still in the house, and Lisa will go into the detail, are so incredibly old, and most of them are broken. They can't open. They leak an extraordinary amount of energy, and even with the storm windows that have been put on, new storm windows that have been put on, even they don't fit properly because these are old windows, and new storm windows can't fit into old frames very well. And some of the old windows right now have got non-traditional, obviously, aluminum storm windows on it. So we want to clean all that up so it all looks the same as the rest of the house, completely respecting the look and feel of the rest of the windows, which obviously were approved as part of the original renovation, and dramatically reduce the energy footprint of this house, because although it's a lovely house, it's a big house, and the areas that are not yet, the rooms that have the existing rooms that have the old windows in it are high traffic rooms. So they are bedrooms, they are a living room, and they are a home office. So we're always in those rooms, and with them not being energy efficient, it's extraordinary how much energy we're consuming. So we want to harmonize for look and feel, obviously respecting the historical look of the building, but also dramatically reduce the energy footprint. So obviously we talked about, that's not news. We talked about that in our previous presentation. Obviously, we had the chat, and the discussion was very much about whether we could renovate the windows. So we went away and sought the opinion of an expert who does this in Beacon Hill. I'm not sure if he's actually done work in Concord, but he does work in many a historical district. And he came over and he spent an hour with us, which was fantastic. And I'll let Lisa take you through the details.
Great. Thank you. Lisa Damick from Nishadic Architects. Thank you for taking the time tonight to talk to us. As Andrew mentioned, they've been in before the Historic District many times so far, and they really do believe in preserving the look of the house. The problems that we are having is the main problems we're trying to solve is the cold air infiltration through the windows and the uninsulated window weight pockets. The existing windows exhibit extreme wear. Most windows don't operate and are not weather stripped, and they have leaky storm windows, and they're not energy efficient. And most importantly, as Andrew mentioned, there's heat loss and kind of air coming through those pockets on either side of the window. I know everybody wants to be more energy efficient and more green, and you know, the newly released energy code is really pushing for us to have get to net zero by 2050. So we're really trying to get better about trying to reduce the cost. So the goals for this project are comfort inside the home, reduce the waste of the heat and fuel consumption, reduce the carbon footprint, and restore the look of the original windows on the home. The original windows, I'm just going to share my screen to kind of walk through a little bit here. Let me see if I can do it. Desktop share. See if I can go there. So the scroll over here. So the as we talked about the last time, there was a different house on this property and it got moved over to Thoreau Street. So this was the house that was rebuilt, and you can see it's a little bit far away, but some of the other photographs show that the original windows were 1/1, and they did not have storm windows on them, which wasn't uncommon for that time, but they did not have wood storm windows. And some of the windows were the 6/6, but in the previous renovation, the 6/6 windows have gone away except for in the dormers in the backside of the house. So just in terms of the windows that we have replaced so far, the windows on the front of the house have not been replaced. The windows up in the dormers have been replaced in the previous renovations. The one here and the windows kind of behind the bay on the right side of the house have been replaced. The windows on the back of the house, all of the windows on the third floor were, some of them were replaced, but they changed locations. So we ended up getting new windows for those. The main 3 gang window here and this back bedroom window have not been replaced. This window is in a bathroom, and it's one of the newer windows. And then all of these windows and the doors on the back had, because of, you know, reorganizing the back and taking out the big half round window and taking out the apartment, kind of all of those things got adjusted. And then on this side here, the dormers again, and just this one bathroom window has been replaced. So we're kind of looking at the rest of the windows, which I believe, Andrew, did you say that the triple window in the front and the back, we're just going to, what was the plan for that? You did not want to replace those?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've got the sort of the yeah, so it's the one above the porch there. It's got, it's kind of got a so they're very large and very distinct windows, and the one on the back kind of opens out into the river, and these are, I mean, they're huge. Particularly the one on the back is huge, right? But because they're not in we don't sort of the bit of the window at the back is on the landing, so it doesn't really affect us hugely. And this one at the front is a second home office that it's very small, we don't use it very often. But as part of the plan, what will happen is that Jim, the restorer, will take those and sort of make them better. Yeah, they're just too customized to do anything with them. But because they're not we're not in those places, we're very comfortable about that. Yeah, so they're not being touched. Apart from, I suppose all I should say is we're making them better, get rid of the aluminum storm windows and get sort of custom things that fit a little bit better, but at least they won't be aluminum, because as you can see from this picture, you can see the sort of grey outlines on all the windows that are still to be replaced.
So in terms of the goals, we want to restore the look of the original windows. The original windows did not have any grids in them, did not have any buttons. So there's no simulated divided lights being planned for these windows. It's really just what we see in terms of the window right now is the sash frame that you can see from any of the streets in the back and the front on the sides. We'd like to make them more energy efficient. We'd like to insulate the old weight pockets to reduce the heat loss. And we would like, because they're not simulated divided lights, because we're just seeing the sash lines, we would like to do cloud sashes, which is what is on the rest of the house. And because, the new growth wood is not as weather resistant or rot resistant, especially if you don't have lead paint on them. We'd like to be able to reduce the maintenance cost. And the house is set back about 78 feet from the street itself. The windows in the dormer at the top are clad. And so I know that most people don't know or can't see that. So the options we considered, we did we have a person who came out to the house who it's Jim from Liberty Revival, and he's been in business for 30 years now. And he's part of the Window Preservation Alliance. And he, again, does lots of restorations in Beacon Hill and around Boston and in outside communities. He did come out to the house and take a look at the windows. And let me just switch to the presentation or his summation here. That's it. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So these are a close-up of the windows, but his evaluation was that these windows exhibit extreme amounts of wear, include painting falling off and cracking and flaking, and 90% of the windows do not operate or hold position. The storm windows also are not effective based on size and availability to fit properly. The glazing compound is dried, cracking off and falling off. The window sashes, jambs as a whole do not operate properly because of fit and general wear over time. And in his opinion, the possibility of repairing the existing sash and jambs would be impractical. There's not enough of the existing sashes and jam material to make an effective repair or provide a reasonable amount of positive operation and energy efficiency. Storm windows are not and will not improve the performance of these. So what we initially wanted him to come out and do was take a look at possible reusing the sashes, but doing jam, putting the weights and not the weights, but the spring mechanisms into the existing sashes, and then having the replacement jambs go into the side. And by doing that, we could insulate the pockets. And that's really what the problem is right now, because we've done plenty of renovations of or restorations of windows and then put on newer storms that fit better. And that's always what we try and do. However, the problem with this particular house is the weight pockets have so much air leakage that it's just making it really uncomfortable to be in the house. So we initially tried to see if we could use the original sashes and do the restoration to the sashes. What Jim was telling us was that there's just, and I can show you from the pictures here. These are kind of the exterior of the windows, kind of looking through the storms. But in terms of, oops, excuse me. So in terms of the depth here from here to here, he's got to route out about an inch of depth to be able to put the mechanical pieces that have to work with the jamb into the edges of both the sashes. And there's just, you can see it's very narrow and there's just not enough meat in the wood of the frame to do it in these sashes. So that's kind of, we looked at that as an option because we were trying to keep as much of the original windows as we could. Obviously these old storms aren't working. You can see the air gap right here through the window. But again, his suggestion was if the windows were in better condition and we could fill the weight pockets in some way with insulation, that we could get new storms. But for this particular project, he's not able to do that. He does make custom mahogany windows that are all replacements. He's done that in plenty of other houses on Beacon Street and in lots of different areas around Boston. But again, we weren't trying to do replacements of the entire window. And so we had looked at restoring those. Just restoring these windows and putting new storms on it, again, is not going to help with the performance. Previously, we had asked for, let me just minimize that. Previously, we had asked for the Marvin insert windows, but because of, this is just an example of what the old window looked like and what this is a window that we put in 2 years ago with the renovation. So it was a wood framed clad sash window, so we could put traditional trim around it, and we had the extension or the sills done as historic sills. So they looked very similar to the original windows. And so these have the double pane insulating glass on them. And you can see that the frame edge is very similar and you don't see much of it at all. In terms of, what it's about 1.5 to 2 inches wide that kind of goes all the way around the edge, but you really notice the trim more than you do the sashes themselves. So in our previous presentation, we had asked for Marvin insert windows, which would mean that we would have an additional line around the window, because we would be putting a whole entire new frame inside the existing frame of the window that already exists there. So we could keep the exterior trim, but then we would end up with another line around the inside of the window, which in doing that, we end up with smaller glass in both directions. So it takes about 1.5 to 3 inches, depending on the window manufacturer you use. So the windows would be that 2 inches narrower and 2 inches shorter in terms of the amount of glass that we would get. So in working with Jim at Liberty Revival, he does offer, and this is a little bit misleading in terms of the frame and everything here. So I'm going to ask you to kind of ignore the aluminum frame here. But what he does offer is these sash back replacements. So you would get sashes, which I know, I believe that's what the library house that was attached to the library. That's what they did over there. They put in the window sashes, new spring jams, so that the windows will work better. And the sashes are weather stripped better, and they move up and down better. And by doing these sash packs, we can open up the weight pockets and insulate them, which is really our desire to do. And what you basically get is kind of these side jams here, which come up and down. They don't change the dimension of the window from the exterior. And from the interior, you're just kind of adding these jam pieces on either side, and then the sashes go right into those. They kind of snap in angled and put in like tilt wash windows. But we wouldn't have a frame around it. We really are just talking about the sash piece here that we're getting, and these jams that are being put into the existing window. And by doing that, we reduce waste by keeping the existing window frames and exterior trim. It allows us to insulate the weight pockets again. It allows us to install energy efficient sashes and low E insulating glass. And these all of these improvements will help us reduce the heat loss on the home. And most importantly, it really does preserve the look of the windows, the old windows. Again, since we don't have any divided lights, really what we're asking to replace is just the frame of the sashes. We believe that, we've looked at all the options, and that our proposed solution would both continue to preserve the historic character of the House of Concord and reduce the energy consumption and heating costs of this home. So we appreciate you taking the opportunity to listen tonight.
Okay. Is that all that you have for us right now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'd like to have the commissioners weigh in on this. Kate?
Hi there. Thanks so much for the comprehensive revisit of our concerns. As we don't take window replacement or amendment lightly or easily, because it is more evident than you might think. But given what you've reviewed and you've showed us and all the legwork you've done, I think this is a case where we would have to support you in, the choice you've made that is feasible to you. So I have no further questions. I thought they're going to look like that renovated window from 2016, 2018.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought that would be fine.
Walter?
Are you planning to keep the shutters?
Yes, everything on the exterior is going to remain the same. We're
Okay,
just
so
taking.
right now it's a mix. There's some shutters and some not.
Yeah, the shutters are going to stay the way they are currently on the house.
Okay, because to my eye, having the shutter actually legitimizes the windows more and
Mhm.
smooths
we
out the
weren't-
process. So I would suggest considering putting more shutters in rather than fewer shutters if it ever becomes a choice. I certainly don't want to be an ogre and say you need to live in misery and cold for the rest of the duration. I have, as I said before, fair amount of experience with exactly that problem. I am delighted that you went to the trouble of chasing down the options, and it seems like it's a viable one to me. So thank you, and it makes me happier than I was.
Thank you.
Okay.
Happy, how's that?
Thank you. And Dennis?
Thank you for going the extra mile. I think it was important, and I agree with the other comments that were made. Particularly Kate's, we take windows very seriously, and we don't just let this go by without looking at all the options. But it sounds like you've really looked into it, and so at this point, I don't have a problem.
Okay. Bill?
I have a lot of sympathy. I lived across from you for 10 years in the Clymer's house, and I had the windows.
Okay.
You described their windows. I think it's a fine recommendation. I won't repeat what my colleague said earlier.
Okay, Catherine?
I completely agree with my fellow commissioners. I mean, the to put it succinctly, the programming requirements here were formidable and many, and so I really respect the fact that so much due diligence and hard work was done. And I definitely feel like bringing in expert opinions and looking carefully at all the different options and requirements, and then trying to align all of those options and requirements with the functional needs of heat retention and the needs of the house. I feel like you've come to a great conclusion and great solution, and so I have no objections at all.
Thank you. And Tim?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all the other comments. So I guess my only question is, what does that insert really look like? Because we're looking at a photograph and trying to ignore parts of that system. And I would like to just see, here's the existing, here's the proposed drawn, just a piece of, just so we really know what we're looking at, because I think we all agree, just 1 inch change of dimension on these windows and they're different. That's always the concern. So, and I know you're saying it's all going to look pretty much exactly the same, but I think the solution looks great. You've really been exhaustive about the approach, and putting in sashes that are pretty much the same size and look in the existing frames is a good approach. I just want to know personally, what does it look like? Here's the existing, here's a proposed, just a sketch that we could see, as part of the approvals process. That would be my request. Thank you.
I have nothing to add to this, except that when I saw that picture that the guy came in and took with that one window, that convinced me right then and there. I don't know that we would need a picture before we vote on this, because I think that it's pretty obvious that there really isn't any other option. But if that could be made part of the folder, I would think that that would be great, and you'd probably get a picture from somebody that's forwarded on. Do we have any public comments on this proposal? Okay, it doesn't look like we do. All right, then I think we can go ahead and take a vote.
Can I say just one thing to interrupt, which is please keep a copy of the sashes in the basement. Label what they are when they were taken out for posterity. Just in case.
Maybe not all of them. We'll keep one of them, but not all of them.
Oh, of course not all of them. Just one as a souvenir in case anybody wants to visit it at some point.
It looks like Mr. Clymer has his hand up.
I see just now, yes.
Thank you very much. As Bill indicated, we were across the street from this house for about 20 years, I guess. And Di and I have both served on the commission in the past. And I think this is a case in which the owner is gone much farther than one would expect to do the best he can in matching what is there now and achieving his goal of much better energy use in the house. I think they've done a terrific job. I'd be happy to live across the street again.
And Mr. Clymer, would you just mind providing your address for the record?
13 River Street in Concord.
Thank you.
And are there any other comments from the public? Then I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the application?
I move to approve the application for 252 Main Street as submitted.
I'll
And second,
second it.
thank you. And so let's take a vote.
May I just ask, is again, as a rookie here, does that include the suggestion that Tim made about a sketch, or you do that afterwards?
Oh, no, that would be now. Did we agree that's what we wanted? Okay. New move, new motion. Thanks, Bill. I agree. I move to approve the application for 252 Main Street as submitted upon submission of what kind of sketch, Tim?
Just to scale sketch of what's there and what's proposed as a little piece of just a detail, zoom in detail of the window sash and jamb.
What he said?
That too much, too many
I'll
words?
second that again.
So just one point on that of clarification. I mean, not all these windows are the same, right? So there's different sizes, different shapes. So you're happy with one example of one window, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think if we could just take an average, you know, the photograph is just so different from what you're actually going to put in there. I think the architect understands, you know, we just like to take that and do an overlay hand sketch, whatever, that shows it to scale. Here's what you got on average. You don't have to do it every window, just.
Sure. So, you just kind of want to compare the meeting rail thickness and
Right.
the size.
Exactly. You can
rails
zoom in on a
and-
piece of the frame as and sash, whether it's an axonometric or a front elevation, just so we know that we're getting the same, you know, pretty much the same dimensional situation that you have now.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're ready for a vote.
Should that be subject to the judgment of somebody designated?
I think all we're asking is that it be attached to the application.
And if it looks good on average, then everything's fine. And if it doesn't look good on average, is there potentially recourse, or is there a process for determining that? I think that's leaning towards not having it probably, which would become more of a can of worms potentially.
My take on this is that there aren't a lot of other options, and he's
Right.
very
I'm not suggesting that it will change anything.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think we just go ahead and take this vote, and in good faith assume that he will attach what's been requested by one of the commissioners, and we can ask Anne or Haley to provide that to us at the next meeting so that we can all see it, or she can send us an email.
Yeah, it's all fine.
Does that sound fair? Okay, no. Then let's take a.
Someone needs to second it.
Oh, I thought I had a second.
I seconded it.
Oh, you
Thank
did.
you.
Sorry, guys.
No problem. So Kate, how do you vote?
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Timothy? Tim?
I'm not voting, I don't think. Am
We all vote regardless.
I?
Thank
I was
you.
confused on that too.
It just doesn't count, but you get to vote.
Exactly. And I also vote yes. So thank you very much for your due diligence. We don't see this all the time. And I wish you luck in a warmer home.
Well, thank you to you all, and we'll see you soon to discuss the delightful Widows Walk.
Thank you very much.
Wait.
Have a good night.
Yes, exactly. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Right. So the last thing I have here, and I think I'm looking on the right page, is the certificate extension for 59 Wall Street, Walden Street rather. Wall Street. Jeez, I am tired.
That's a
I've been
bigger
traveling-
building.
I've been traveling for almost 40 hours up until yesterday evening, so I'm tired. But at any rate, the Main Street Historic District request to extend the renovated existing building with including doors, windows, et cetera. And do we have to take a vote on this, Haley? Or no, they're not here anymore. right? Oh, yeah,
Yes,
we do. Okay. And do I need a motion then for this?
yes.
Okay, would someone please give me a offer up a motion for the certificate extension?
Kate, you're a motion person.
I thought I should not hog it, but okay. I move that we extend the certificate of appropriateness for 59 Walden Street as submitted.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Actually, I should really go through the entire roll call. I'm sorry. Kate,
Uh,
Walter,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I also am gonna aye.
and I'm Melinda.
Oh, Catherine, I'm so
No
sorry.
worries.
And you haven't left yet. You keep trying. Sorry, we're still on
And
time.
you're a voter. We have to have you to have a quorum, for goodness sake. Anyways, thank you. And I think we are finished for this evening.
Thank
you very much.
No, you have 2 sets of minutes to approve. Oh, sorry, Tim or Tom.
All right. So has anybody finished the minutes?
That's a better question.
I did actually review them. There was only like one small typo that I saw on one of them, which I can share with Haley. So I think we can, as far as I'm concerned, they looked fine to me.
Yep, you can send that to me, Kate, and then we can, approve as amended.
Yeah, it was just a tiny thing. So
Before I perform a meeting.
And has anybody else got anything to
No
say
comments.
about the minutes for both of these, since Catherine has read them both? Does anybody else have any
No comments.
corrections or,
No.
No.
okay? Then do we need a vote for this, Haley?
Yes,
Do we need a motion, Haley?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll
may I
move we
have a
approve
motion?
both sets of minutes as submitted with the typographical correction.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
I'll second, so moved.
Okay, and let's go a vote. So Kate,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Walter, sorry.
There needs to be clarity on who was actually at those meetings for voting to approve. the
No,
minutes,
it doesn't, because anybody can read them afterwards. Right?
Well, I would think that those who are at the meeting need to attest to them being accurate rather than.
no, because actually, they're recordings of all the meetings, so it's just a requirement to, if you were not present, to listen to the recording.
Doesn't make sense to me necessarily, but okay.
Well, you haven't missed any meetings yet, so you haven't had to do one of those Mullen forms. But should you miss, right? You haven't missed any? Since you've been on?
No.
Well, so one of the things you have to do if you miss a meeting now, and I can say, having done this twice recently, that you get sent a link with the whole video, although you can also get a written version. But I like to listen to the video, and I sit through the whole thing, and then I know whether the minutes are accurate or not.
as the transcription of what actually happened.
Right.
Well, I'm looking at it, it's a
Yeah.
video. Yeah, you're exactly right. It is a
Sure,
transcription.
okay,
So that's how it works.
okay.
then you
Not-
have to
not-
send
I'm not
it-
trying to be difficult, so I'll just.
No,
say-
no, no. And then you have to send the piece of paper to Haley that showed that you did it and you have to sign and everything, just so you know. So sometimes it's
Yeah.
easier to come to the meetings.
Now I do.
So do I have a vote? Did we vote on this or not yet? No, right?
We're in the
We were
process.
halfway
Me,
through.
And I'm saying aye then.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. And I was on Catherine. Well, you just, yes.
Aye.
And Tim,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. And I don't think I've missed anybody this time, correct? Good. So I just need a motion.
Can I ask two real quick educational questions? I'm sorry.
Of course,
But
no.
can you explain the voting? Like Tim, I was a little confused about, you picked some people as voters, but then we all voted. And then the second question is, the extension of something is, I gather we do that as a matter of course, but is there a time limit on our original approval? What are the mechanics there?
So I think there's a 6-month limitation on the continuations. Is that correct?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Okay. All right.
And then they have to reapply
Got it,
otherwise.
okay.
And then as far as the votes, we have our, what I would call our permanent members, people who have served long enough to be put in that position, automatically are the voters unless they are not present that day.
Mhm.
And then we go to anybody. In this case, it was suggested who I use, but I followed it, but the chairman can choose whoever he wants. So there really is, and sometimes we only have 5 people, period. But everybody gets to vote publicly, whether their vote counts or not.
I understand.
We don't keep anybody from,
Got it.
otherwise you wouldn't want to come.
No, I'm just curious what the nuance there was. Thank you for bearing with me.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And can I have a motion to adjourn?
Melinda,
Oh,
I-
yes. Yep.
just one thing, it's not a question, but I just, something that every time I go by the Colonial Inn and with spring coming, it reminds me, they came to us to approve 2 things. One is that new canopy they wanted, which we didn't approve, but also in that application was approving those little spots they put in the lawn to dine out in front, which never came before us and have not been approved by Historic Districts Commission, unless I'm wrong, and maybe Haley can correct me. But I think because the thing went away when we did not approve the canopy, we never got around to approving their use of the front lawn for dining.
That's correct. I've reached out to them a few times and they said that they are planning to do it, but they haven't responded. I'll reach out again. I noticed that there were shutters up on the roof there, above the porch. So I was thinking that they were going to be installing the shutters when the paint job isn't quite complete. So I've reached out to them about that too, since there are a few little minor mistakes about they painted the trim, the body color. So I just want to sort of get that right. And then there's also, I guess, a dormer that they had missed. Also, they had painted their foundation, their brick foundation, in the yellow color, which surprised me. So I'd actually recommend that they painted a brick color, but I think that would be something that they'd have to come before HDC to get approved as well. So maybe they could do the landscaping as well as that new brick color, for the foundation. But in the meantime, they should fix the paint.
That would be after the factors, if I understood that it's after the fact approval.
Well, no, they haven't. The foundation is currently yellow.
I meant what Dennis referred to in the.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they
definitely.
did it, and now they want us to approve it.
Oh.
Right. They did it during COVID, I think, right?
They did it during COVID, right?
Mhm.
But it's not, they just did it and then they didn't ask us for permission. I didn't hear any negatives about it, but it needs to be official.
All right,
I'll
well,
reach out to them again.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
okay, so may I have a motion to adjourn?
All right, I'll wrap it up. Oh, Dennis, hey, Bill,
I'll second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Bye.
All right,
All
all
right,
right.
good night, everybody. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Night.
Linda.
Yeah.